Hello, dear Brutkasten community. We're live today at the Vienna office of the Viennese startup Medicus AI with the CEO and founder, Baher Al-Hakim. Hello, Baher.
Hello.
So today we're talking about a 1.2 million euro investment round that was announced today, as well as about plans of a 20 million euro investment round that's going to take place in the next month to come.
Yeah.
And about the expansion to China. So there are quite a lot of topics, but before we get into the fundraising questions, I just ask you to do a pitch for us. Could you tell me what Medicus AI does?
Sure, of course. First of all, thank you so much for the interview. And Medicus AI, we are proudly a Vienna-based company, and we have a platform that explains blood tests, medical reports, and health data. So if you ever went to do a blood test and you receive this report that you don't understand what it means, our product can transform it into a personal infograph. So you see colors, visuals, explanations, what does it mean, what can I do about it, checkup recommendations, health tips, and coaching. The app is available on the App Store, on Android and iOS. You can download it, but our business model is licensing the technology to labs, hospitals, and insurance companies. So this is a very short summary of Medicus AI.
Okay, so because we wrote about you a lot actually in the past, and you started off with mainly with laboratories, with the diagnostic area. Why did you expand to other areas in the last month?
Well, we always wanted to go into that expansion strategy. So this has been the target of the company from day one. But obviously, we needed to start both from the product perspective and from the market entry perspective with the diagnostic labs. So the product was basically taking the paper and generating a digital version out of it. But the next step was going into the well-being and coaching and using this data to really add continuous, personal, step-by-step value to patients. And if you can imagine, this is where the insurance field comes in, because for them, they care about improving your health, they care about interacting with you on a regular basis. So, and only as in this year that our offering started becoming mature for the insurance field. And this is when we started properly expanding. And at the same time with the hospitals, we also started going more and more into providing value and insights for physicians, recommendations. So we also started going into hospitals.
Okay. Talking about the insurance field, you actually won the biggest life insurer of China as a customer this year with your China expansion. Now, obviously, that takes a lot of money. Just this year, you closed a 5 million euro Series A round. Now you closed a 1.2 million euro round for your Chinese subsidiary. And you're planning to do another 20 million euros Series B round. So that's quite a complex fundraising process. Can you tell us something about it?
Well, it was not planned to be like that. When we were raising the Series A round, it was planned to be for 18 months. But what has happened, which is a very positive surprise, but also it's really pushing us, is that whenever we started going into markets, sometimes even just having conversations with potential partners or potential clients in markets, we realize that this is the best time for what we're building. Honestly, like we talk to Brazil, we go into India, into China, and we realize that what they're working on, what they're doing, what they need is exactly what we have. And this is when the team goes back, or when I sit with the team to discuss that, guys, if we don't do it now, we're gonna miss our chance. We're gonna miss the opportunity. This is why we started expanding our growth ambitions, and of course that needs more money and that needs more faster movement. And in China in particular, our plans was just to establish something in China. We started expanding into China in May. As of May, we didn't have anything in China. We were just visiting it. All of this happened since May till now, which is, I still can't believe it, that this is all happening in China, but we just have to move on. And Japan is next, like Brazil is next, Belgium, Italy, Netherlands, Portugal, Spain, and a few other markets that probably we don't even know of.
And you're building up subsidiary companies in all of those countries you told me before. Why?
We were for many reasons. The first reason is so that we can employ people there, because we need, our clients are healthcare providers, insurance companies. They're big and they need a lot of support on the ground. So we need to have people on the ground, and to employ people, we need usually legal entities. But also another reason is that we are in the medical field, And we always need to have contracts, legal contracts that are compliant with the laws. And for the clients, it's much easier and simpler for them to work with their local laws versus working with the Austrian laws, which is what our company is. We try to avoid opening a lot of subsidiaries if we can afford not to, but more often than not, we end up having to. China in particular is a very interesting case because in China, all our subsidiaries in the other markets are wholly owned by Medicus AI here. But China, we are a majority shareholder, but the investors also, so the investors invested in China, didn't invest in the main entity, because this is how the structure, the legal structure of the Chinese subsidiaries go, not just for us, for all global companies.
And you plan another investment round for the Chinese subsidiary as well?
Yes, so we are actually, because of how fast we're expecting the Chinese operations to grow, we're planning 2 rounds next year. So we're planning around every 6 months. So we're starting our next round for China early next year as well. And we're starting another round in China mid next year because we have significant milestones. Unfortunately, I can't say much about what's happening in China because we are under NDAs, but there are big things that are happening in China. And we expect 2 massive milestones to be hit next year. This is why we're raising money. Also, another contributing part to our global expansion is our partnership with Roche Diagnostics. We've been working with them for almost 2 years now, but lately the collaboration is moving into more advanced levels, and they're helping us with distribution, with code development. So they're also one of the big factors that are pushing us to expand faster.
So what's noticeable is you're talking in your expansion about Brazil, Japan, about several European countries, about China, of course, and there's no United States in it. So why did you choose China, and why did you not choose the United States?
Well, a few reasons. First of all, both markets are the 2 largest markets in anything, and particularly healthcare in the world. And we are still a medium-sized company. We're not that big. So we have to choose what big market do we focus on. So we were really thinking about, is it the US or is it China? And looking at the future potential expansion and the market dynamics, which are, I can't go into details, but we don't have that much time now. We chose China. And also what I've been noticing since we chose that is that the political and the economic landscape between China and the US is becoming more and more aggressive, and there is a sort of a new Cold War that is happening now that I feel that if we are in both markets, we're going to have difficulties. So if we want to bet on one market, I would bet on China because it's going to be the biggest economy in the next few years. So for me, China is the future, not the US.
So in case the trade conflict becomes a bit more calm after the presidency of Donald Trump, would you consider the United States again?
For sure. I mean, we are always looking into it. It's just, and honestly, it really depends on the right timing and the right resources. But I mean, we can't, like, both of them are massive boulders. We can't carry both of them at the same time. Like, we would be crushed under the weight of those 2. We can definitely do the other markets, but like for those 2 markets, we would focus on China for now, see how things go next year. Maybe in 2021, it would be the right time to enter the US. But again, we've always been following an opportunistic approach as a company. So for the right reasons, with the right partnerships, with the right clients, we can always change that decision, and maybe we are in the US next year. We don't know.
So you were just talking about an opportunistic approach. So actually many startups from Vienna move somewhere else because of an opportunistic approach. You stay in Vienna. So 2 questions. Why did you choose Vienna initially? You're not from here. And the other question, are you staying in Vienna? Is the headquarters going to be here in 5 years' time?
Why did I choose Vienna in the first place is, I would say, I mean, I fell in love with the city. So there is personal reasons, but also I got a lot of support and encouragement from the local ecosystem, starting from the Vienna Business Agency that hosted me here as part of the startup welcome package, to Inits that also took us in as part of their incubation program, and then the Health Hub Vienna, and a lot of friends that supported us, that became friends that back then I just met them. So it's a really very supportive ecosystem, and it just made it really easy for us to stay here. As to why we're staying here is, since we're a global company, we need to be everywhere at the same time, and we do need to have a headquarters that has good and quick access to international markets. Good airports close to the city, which Vienna has. I love the Vienna International Airport. It's one of my favorite airports, even if I'm not living here. I also really like the access to the academic talent in here. You have a lot of great developers, scientists, researchers, physicians, and this is what we would need to grow. So it's a really good ecosystem for talent, for growth, and to be the center of a global company. So we're not thinking, actually we did relook at the decision of being in Vienna a year and a half ago, and we compared it against Berlin and Paris. And still we ended up staying in Vienna because some of the investors that we have were asking us to relook into that again. We opened it and we shared it with all of them, and we all decided that Vienna is still the best place. So I don't see us moving out of Vienna anytime soon, if ever.
Last question. You're right now growing massively. I think you explained it pretty well, and the fundraising rounds show that. So where do you see Medicus AI in 5 years?
That is a very good question. Well, I see us, one of our targets is going public in 2025, which is, I would say, a bit more than 5 years from now.
Well, it counts at 5 years to the end of 2019.
Okay, so for us, it's one of our targets. It's basically listing on the stock market in 2025. Probably we would be, today we're 103 employees. So by then we would probably be maybe 2,000 employees. We would be definitely global company everywhere, even in the US.
Which stock market?
I started looking into the Vienna stock market because I see that it's a bit more active than when we first moved. But I think it's a bit too early to say that from 5 years. But apart from the, going public and of course becoming a €1 billion in valuation, it's just where we see the impact of what we do, which is the most important part, is we see Medicus empowering the patients and physicians and healthcare providers to really make value out of health data. Because today, this is the biggest challenge, that you have a lot of data moving, generated, that is read and interpreted and consumed in its raw format. And this shouldn't happen in this day and age with the tech we have, with the AI we have. And this is what we want to do. We want to be everywhere globally. Whenever a test result or a health value is generated by a person or through a system, we want Medicus to be there to intercept it and transform it into something that adds real value.
Well, it brings me to the very, very last question.
Sure.
Is there do you see any international competition coming up?
Yes, of course. There is always competition, and I see this field becoming more and more heated because and this is, by the way, one of the reasons why we're expanding quickly, because the space of innovation and digital health is growing much faster than we expect, and there is more companies going into the space. Our position is still unique in exactly the same features we do, but there are more and more companies that are doing bits and pieces here and there, or some slight overlap. And since we have already a really good and strong position, we just want to utilize that and grow even faster. But competition is good, and we always try to collaborate. And there are many companies today that we were competing with that we're now discussing collaboration, and we always try to do that. There is a lot to do for all of us. So instead of just fighting against each other, we can just collaborate together and solve problems collaboratively.
Baher, thank you very much for the interview. Wish you much success for Medicus AI for the next months to come and for the next years. And thank you very much for listening and watching. And see you later, guys. Goodbye.